The wild twist behind my friend's wedding drama. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. The officiant's mic popped as the city clerk strode in with papers. That's how the rehearsal imploded, right when Maya touched Ethan's sleeve and whispered, "Please, not now." I'm Andrew, best friend since freshman year, unofficial coordinator because Maya trusts my lists more than the venue's apps. I don't do drama. I do checklists and receipts. My stake is simple. I introduce them. If this wedding derails, it'll be on me in every group chat that matters to them and to me. The clerk's eyes scanned the room like a metal detector. Is Ethan Cole present? Ethan raised his hand with that pageant smile that photographs well and forgives nothing. Behind him, Ethan's mother, Vivian, sat like a queen in a pew, air-kissing problems and calling them adjustments. A photographer floated, already circling the tension like a vulture with a lens. The clerk said there was a licensing discrepancy, names, dates, some internal mismatch. It happens, Ethan announced. We'll clear it in the morning. His tone said the state exists to serve the Coles. Maya's father rubbed his temples. Aunt Rosa squeezed my arm until my wrist clicked. Don't speak, she murmured. Just listen and learn. Vivian stood. We can resolve this privately. She cut the oxygen with her smile. Everyone nodded because that's what her smile commands. I watched Maya's face do the slow, private math of a person who wants peace more than triumph. We'll fix it, she said, because she always buys hope on credit. But the clerk's voice turned formal. This cannot proceed unless the earlier file is withdrawn. Earlier file? The clerk's stamped folder carried a name I wasn't supposed to recognize. Maya and I met in a dorm laundry room, arguing over whether darks should forgive Navy. Ethan arrived a year later with a grin and a borrowed tux at a charity gala, all brass and commas. I liked him in theory, efficient, polished, full of "I've got this." Vivian tolerated me like a neighborhood stray. Cute, housebroken, not for furniture. Early planning looked sweet. Tasting menus, playlist spreadsheets, my color-coded budget. Then Vivian began helping. The Coles don't do buffet, she told the planner, then sent a florist quote that cost more than Maya's annual salary. I joked, so flowers are a mortgage? She replied, sweetheart, a mortgage is for people who prefer beige. Last week, I hit my first bruise. Vivian corrected the seating chart to move Maya's divorced cousin to kids' table, spiritually speaking, then laughed at my face like I'd failed a charm school exam. You don't understand optics, she said. Maya apologized for everyone. Ethan hugged me and murmured, she's harmless. But his phone lit with board call, urgent, and he left me holding a centerpiece's invoice with a comma that blinked like a siren. Aunt Rosa kept saying, it's not the price, it's the strings. I filed that under folklore until the clerk said, earlier file. My stomach went quiet. Vivian's eyes flicked to Ethan, then to me, then back like a metronome. Control had always been her second oxygen. Now it looked like a weapon. Maya squeezed my knuckles hard enough to warn me not to ask questions. The week before, red flags wore confetti. The baker DM'd me, confirming cancellation. I hadn't canceled anything. 5 minutes later, a new invoice appeared in Maya's inbox with a different routing number and a discounted family rate. The planner swore she hadn't touched the contract, but someone duplicated it with changes I could feel more than see. Fonts too clean, a signature that straightened its spine. We upgraded, Ethan said, breezy. Vivian found a better package. I stepped outside to breathe and got an anonymous text. Check your licenses, Andrew. The message included a screenshot of a county portal login with Ethan's full name and a date stamped 3 months earlier. I told myself it was a glitch, a cached page, a troll. People sent weird things when weddings went cosmic. At a floral mock-up, Vivian posed, the stems rearranging themselves to flatter her profile, while the photographer captured spontaneous laughter in 10 focal lengths. I kept rationalizing. Mistakes happen, family's posture, it's fine. Then the venue sent a final deposit received email from an account I didn't recognize. I forwarded it to the manager. 2 minutes later she called me, low voice. We didn't send that. I printed everything and stapled it in a folder like a talisman against chaos. That night, Ethan texted, stop micromanaging. Trust me. The anonymous number pinged again. The date matters more than you think. At the rehearsal dinner, Vivian toasted, "To Andrew, who means well," and everyone laughed the way people laugh on cue. "He's our micromanager-in-chief," she added, clinking her glass. And the word micromanager stuck like gum on a shoe. I felt the room tilt. Ethan kissed Maya's hair and flashed me a grin that asked me to be a good sport. I raised my glass and swallowed my pride with the Pinot. Then my phone vibrated under the table. An official notice, cease and desist, using the venue's logo, instructing us to remove unlicensed event staff from all planning channels. The sender address was close to the venue's, but wrong by 2 letters. I looked up at the manager. She was blissfully unaware, smiling into a candle hurricane. I slid the email over to Aunt Rosa. She whispered, "The signature field is off. Who benefits from spooking you?" Before I could answer, a waiter accidentally poured red wine down Maya's ivory rehearsal dress. People gasped. Vivian whispered, "Symbolism is tacky." I stood to get club soda and bumped into Ethan on a call. "It's handled," he said, tone jagged. "Do not miss the window." He turned, saw me, and polished his smile. "Don't worry." Whispers started. Licensing problems, unpaid deposits, venue liens. The photographer kept shooting, hungry for raw moments. The baker texted again. "New delivery, address received?" "No." I typed, then watched the cursor blink like a countdown. The cease and desist email forwarded itself to the entire wedding group chat. By morning, I'd been removed from the shared planning drive. My permissions expired. The seating chart reverted to Vivian's glossy version, complete with kids' table, spiritually speaking. Ethan messaged, "Let the pros handle this." Maya's text arrived seconds later. "I love you, but please give us space." That stung worse than the toast. Group chat split along predictable fractures. College friends defending me. Ethan's cousins calling me control girl boss, which took creativity. Everyone else sending prayer hands and popcorn emojis. Aunt Rosa called. "When people move money around," she said, "they move power." She told me to keep receipts and breathe. I tried. I went for a run and lasted 4 blocks. At home, I stared at the anonymous texts. The date matters more than you think. Earlier file. I pulled up the county's license portal and searched the public records. Nothing obvious. No filed license for Maya and Ethan yet, which made sense with their rehearsal timeline. Still, my gut wouldn't sit. I checked email headers on the cease and desist. The IP resolved to a co-working space downtown. Not the venue. If someone wanted me out, it worked. The planning doc hummed without me. A quiet I didn't recognize settled over my apartment, loud with humiliation. I told myself to let professionals work, to trust love, to stop making everything my problem. Then a new PDF appeared in my inbox with a subject line. Prenup Addendum V2, do not share. I shouldn't have opened it, but it was already open in the sense that my name was in the body. As discussed with Andrew, updated terms attached. I hadn't discussed anything. The addendum was precise. If the couple married before a specific date, this Saturday, certain funds would vest in Ethan's control for household stabilization. If they married after, the funds would skip him and settle into a trust for Maya's future children, with Aunt Rosa as provisional trustee. The date was circled like a target. Who sent this? I texted Maya. 3 dots appeared, disappeared. "I don't know," she wrote. "Please stop." I called the county clerk's office and asked about general licensing timelines. Totally hypothetical, just a curious citizen. The clerk, kind and bored, told me that sometimes preliminary applications exist before final filing. Like a placeholder? I asked. "A pre-file," she said, "usually expires." I opened the attached PDF's properties. Last modified by a username with 3 numbers that matched the co-working space IP. I zoomed into the signature block, an image overlaid, not a live signature. Counterfeit confidence. I forwarded the addendum to Aunt Rosa. Her reply, "Meet me. Bring everything." I printed the header info, stapled it into my talisman, and stared at the date until it felt like a trap closing. The anonymous number sent a courthouse timestamp that didn't match Ethan's story. Aunt Rosa and I walked into the clerk's office like we were buying stamps. "Hi," she chirped. "My niece is getting married and my eyesight is a rumor. What's the difference between pre-filed and filed?" The clerk explained again, patient as a houseplant. "We asked to check for public timestamps attached to Ethan's legal name." "Public information," Aunt Rosa smiled. and the clerk printed a sheet that showed a pre-filed marriage license with Ethan's name, paired with a different partner, dated 3 months ago, marked withdrawn pending correction. The name was smudged from scanning, but not enough. My throat dried. Back outside, I DM'd the photographer. Quick question, who added the NDA writer? She sent back a shrug emoji and a PDF. The writer had a clause about protecting prior reputational events. Meanwhile, the florist sent me a Venmo screen. Someone with Vivian's initials had reimbursed them for a rush fee routed away from the venue's escrow. I called the bakery again and asked why they'd changed delivery. Per updated contract, the manager said. From the planner. The planner texted me. Stop. I visited the co-working address from the email header. The receptionist, tired and stainless steel polite, confirmed a guest pass used the day the cease and desist went out. Name on the pass. A cousin of Ethan's I'd met exactly once. Patterns emerged like bruises via Polaroid. Slow, delayed, then undeniable. The anonymous number finally wrote one sentence. He needs the vows before Saturday for the trust to trigger. So it wasn't just optics, it was clocks and clauses. The scheme's frame clicked into place. If the wedding happened before Saturday, Ethan gained control of a tranche labeled household stabilization. Money spoken with an inheritance accent and guarded by Vivian like a saint guards a relic. If it didn't, the funds bypassed him to a trust anchored to Maya's name and future children, with Aunt Rosa as provisional trustee. Meanwhile, the earlier file paired Ethan with someone else, withdrawn, pending correction. My lungs forgot how. At the boutique hotel, Maya stood in a robe while a seamstress pinned the last of the fitting. She smiled through the mirror. "We okay?" she asked, soft as cotton. I said yes, because I am good at carrying heavy boxes in silence. Vivian sailed in carrying an orchid too ornate to be sincere. Bigger than I expected, she said to the dress, to the room, to the budget. The photographer asked Maya to gaze futureward, and my phone buzzed with the city clerk's auto-reply confirming an appointment request placed for my email I hadn't made. Someone was forging my footsteps while pushing me out the door. I realized the anonymous number wasn't random. It was the planner's assistant, scared and strategic. She finally called from a blocked line and whispered, "They offered me cash to redirect invoices." She added, voice shaking, "I think Ethan already filed another license last spring." I needed proof that could survive a denial's weather. I screen-recorded my inbox, scrolled the forged addendum, captured the metadata. I exported the email headers from the cease and desist, and traced the IP history in a tidy notes doc anyone's lawyer could read. I asked the assistant to forward the Venmo reimbursements and the updated contract she'd received. She did, eyes on the exit. I called attorney Patel, a friend of Aunt Rose's, and asked for 30 minutes of structured skepticism. He listened like a cardiologist listens to a murmur, not dramatic, exact. "We need official timestamps and originals," he said. "And we need to hear Maya's yes without panic in the room." He suggested a calm setting where documents can be verified. No performance, no toasts. I texted Maya. "Tomorrow morning, city clerk's office, with Patel to translate." 3 dots. "Andrew, please," she wrote, "don't explode my life." I typed back, "I'm trying to keep you from a life someone else scheduled." Then I sat in the dark and asked myself the ugliest question. Is blowing up a wedding rescuing a friend, or starring in my own hero story? I thought of the anonymous text. The date matters more than you think. I thought of Vivian's toast. He means well. Meaning well is a blade if you don't watch where it points. I breathed, filed, packed. I pressed send on a calendar invite that could end everything tomorrow. The tasting room smelled like butter and nerves. I slipped in, planning to sit quietly, but Vivian intercepted me with that charitable smile. "Sweetheart," she said, "you're exhausted. Take a day off from other people's lives." She rested her hand on mine, the weight of a bracelet heavy enough to be strategy. "You've done enough," she added, meaning too much. Ethan appeared, phone half raised, voice warm. "Andy, trust me, man." He hugged me the way athletes hug after a loss. "Don't make Maya choose." The room went silent the way rooms do when they've decided a story about you. I nearly deleted the calendar invite. Then the assistant brushed past, accidentally, dropping a printed contract addendum. Vivian bent to pick it up. I was faster. The paper's footer matched the co-working IP. Patel texted, Clerk can see us at 10 a.m. My hand stopped shaking. In the hallway, Aunt Rosa pressed a peppermint into my palm like a sacrament. Hold your lines, she said. Maya found me, eyes damp. Are you trying to save me or punish me? She asked. Both feel the same when you don't want help. I told her what I had. The pre-file with another name, the trust clause, the rerouted payments. She whispered, if it's true, my wedding is a machine. A door opened behind us and Ethan said, very softly, what did you just show her? I didn't answer Ethan. I said, tomorrow at 10, and walked away before he could turn charm into gravity. Patel arranged the room, a small conference space adjacent to the clerk's office, fluorescent honesty buzzing above us. On the table, copies of the addendum, screenshots of IP traces, Venmo reimbursements, timestamp printouts, and an NDA rider with a clause circled in yellow. Patel opened with a neutral tone. We're here to confirm documents, not to accuse. Yet. The clerk's liaison joined by speakerphone, willing to verify public records against IDs. Maya arrived with hair in a loose bun, wearing the sweater she buys in multiples when she's scared. Vivian swept in, scent of peonies and leverage. Ethan followed, jaw tight. Aunt Rosa sat beside Maya, 3 inches of space like a moat. Patel started with the simplest thing. Has there been any prior marriage license pre-file for Mr. Cole? The liaison read the entry. Pre-file 3 months ago, paired with a different name, withdrawn, pending correction. Patel moved to the finances. Who changed the routing for vendor deposits? Silence. The assistant slid her phone across the table with the Venmo receipts. I was told to, she whispered. Vivian smiled at me like a blade catching light and said, Andrew forged those. Patel didn't flinch. He asked the clerk to email a certified screenshot of the pre-file record while we waited. He then opened the metadata panel on the addendum PDF and projected it. Last modified by V. Cole guest, co-work, 199. Ethan's cousin's guest pass, again. Vivian's lips barely moved. Anyone can type initials. Patel lifted his phone. On speaker, the co-working receptionist confirmed the guest pass and time, plus the request for a color laser printer. The room's temperature shifted. Patel then asked Ethan, what is the trust trigger language? Ethan stared at his hands. I don't handle. Yes, you do, Maya said, voice flat. You handle everything. The liaison's email pinged. Patel read it out loud. The earlier pre-file paired Ethan with a woman from his firm's PR vendor, marked withdrawn. Patel looked at Ethan. Reputation laundering? Vivian laughed once, a sound that belonged to a different animal. Our family protects its name, she said. This is how grown-ups solve problems. Maya asked, do we love each other, or my credit score? Ethan finally looked at me. I needed the funds unlocked to fix something before it broke us. He gave the motive words, an investment hole, reputational bleed, a time trust designed by his father to encourage decisive heirs. Masks slipped like gloves after surgery. Maya stood up very slowly and asked, and what if I say we postpone? The answer wasn't loud. It fluttered. A dozen calls, 100 texts, 1,000 tiny collapses. Contracts paused. The venue manager offered a compassionate reschedule if Maya filed a police report for fraud. She didn't want police in white fabric. Ethan's cousins flooded the chats with Andrew sabotaged this, and Maya's ungrateful. My inbox grew fangs. The assistant lost her job in a polite email. Patel suggested a protective order for document tampering. Maya said, not yet, and started packing a go-bag from her bridal suite like a refugee from her own story. I returned rental items with no explanation and paid a same-day fee out of my savings so Maya wouldn't have to face a clerk's pity. Ethan texted me, you don't understand what I was fixing. And for a second I felt the pull of who he could have been. Then a reporter DM'd me for comment. The NDA rider had leaked. I muted everything and lay on the floor of my apartment until the ceiling agreed to stay above me. Aunt Rosa brought soup and a stack of forms that translate chaos into checkboxes. You did the right thing wrong, she said, not unkind. Next time, let her speak first. We filed a fraud alert. We slept badly. We woke to a new invoice. Cancellation penalties applied. The sender line was clean this time. Vivian called from a blocked number and said, meet me alone, Andrew. I met her in a hotel lobby where orchids go to die slowly. Vivian wore grief like couture. You humiliated my family, she said. But her eyes said, you outmaneuvered me. I told her I wouldn't speak without Patel present. She smiled. You're learning. She offered a proposal, a quiet reschedule, a re-engineered trust addendum fair to all, and a public statement blaming clerical delays. Maya gets safety, she said. Ethan gets stabilization. Optics heal. I asked who signs the routing instructions. Maya, she said, of course. I pictured Maya's sweater, the way she twists the cuff when she's breaking. No, I said. Not without independent counsel and time. Vivian's face didn't crack, it rehardened. You think love is pure, she said. Love is logistics. I left before her gravity bent me. Back at Maya's, Patel explained boundaries like a manual, therapy, separate accounts, written conditions, no emergencies disguised as romance. Maya listened with a stillness I'd never seen. She apologized to the assistant. She asked me to delete the calendar app from her phone and to keep the peppermint from Aunt Rosa for luck. We made tea. We breathed. We said the word postpone without dying. Ethan texted a final time. If you need me, I'm here. Maya didn't respond. She booked therapy. Vivian sent one last message. You will regret teaching her to say no. Some nights I replay the rehearsal mic pop and wonder if I like the rescue more than the rescue liked me. Then I remember Maya's voice when the paper truths landed. Steady, not small. We didn't save a wedding. We saved a person from becoming a policy. Here's what I learned in the ashes. Loyalty isn't silence. It's informed consent. Families will call control, tradition. Planners will call bribes, rush fees. And love will sometimes arrive with terms and conditions. If you're in a hall of mirrors, choose the room with receipts. Ask for original docs. Check metadata. Verify payment routes, and never let urgency shrink your questions. If someone tells you the date matters more than the vows, ask who built the clock. Today, Maya's planning something smaller with sunlight instead of chandeliers, guardrails instead of surprise, and promises that don't require NDAs. Aunt Rosa is teaching her to make caldo verde. I'm learning to sit quietly while someone else reads their own map. If you're facing a wedding with strings attached, here's your practical. Put everything in writing. Get neutral counsel, verify every helpful update, and practice saying no out loud. Hope looks like morning coffee across a kitchen table, not orchids under spotlights.